Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun, and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. And this is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland, and this is our long distance friendship podcast. And we're going to kick things off as we do every week with our out of context weekly scenarios. This is the part of the show where me and Imran give each other sections of our week out of context, and the other person has to try and guess what's going on. So, Imran, what is your out of context weekly scenario?
My out of context weekly scenario for this week is 400 chicken wings.
Was there like an eating challenge of some sort at a restaurant and you to eat 400 chicken wings?
I actually want to change it to 400 chickens, not 400 chicken wings. So 400 chickens.
400 chickens, right? Was it something got to do with a restaurant?
No.
Or was it anything to do with the pub you work in?
Yeah.
Did you get like a massive delivery of chicken wings or chickens of some sorts?
Yes, per se.
Did you get like over delivered?
No.
So you guys purposely ordered 400 chickens.
Yes.
Are you trying to get? Am I supposed to guess why there's so many chickens?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because it's Paddy's Day next week and it's like for like a dish that's in the restaurant, like a roast or something?
No.
You just doing so? Well, you initially said chicken wings, so are the wings important? Is it a chicken wing challenge that you're setting up or something?
I want to see if you can find out why it's 400 chickens.
Is it 400's a key part of this?
Yeah, the 400 is a key part of the chickens, yeah.
Um, so you are doing some sort of dish for the next
Yeah,
week that you
it's
have
on
to
a
have.
dish. It's chicken wings. I'll give you that. It's chicken wings. But I want to feel like I want to see if you can find out the reason why I was amazed that it was 400 chickens.
Because there's only two two wings per chicken.
Yeah. So I just thought it was mad that we found out this week when I was doing the boxes because it was like I was like to one of the lads. I was like, how many how many chickens do you reckon it is for all the wings? So when the boxes came in, it was like how many wings were there on the chicken? Like I was trying to think like how many wings is there on chicken, but then if there's 400 chickens and there's two wings on chickens, then there's you should give me the answer now. I'm pretty much giving it to you.
800 wings.
800 wings. But now it's just like when you see 800 wings in front of you and like you have to fry them in the fryer, it's just like what the fuck. It's just like so much chickens. Like I was eating, it was that meme of, like the kid,
Look at
and it's
all
like
those chickens.
look at all those chickens. Like someone came into the kitchen and was like walked past. Like I didn't even know who it was. It was one of the lads. We just go look at all those chickens. That's
Were you amazed that uh, 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 was this like something that you just hadn't clicked in your brain that chickens only have two wings or something?
No, like I know, obviously I know that they have two wings, but I was just amazed by how many, like when you see that many chicken wings in front of you. And by the way, so that's per one box, and we got eight boxes. So there was 800 chicken wings in each box, and I did eight boxes. So
So
it was
so you didn't get so wait, hold on a minute. You didn't get whole chickens delivered. You got
no,
chicken
no,
wings
no.
delivered.
I got chicken wings delivered, but I'm trying to think. There's we got told there's 800 wings in a box, right? I did eight boxes, okay, and then one of the lads was like, we were thinking, I was like, okay, so how many wings? But we didn't know this at the time. Like, we were trying to figure out how many chickens was in each box. So, but then we came to the conclusion because we none of us ever thought like sat back and was like, here, I actually wonder how many chickens died to make like each one of these boxes. So that means that for one box alone, if there's 800 in a box, there was 400 chickens that were, sliced out just to make one box of chickens. And I was like, Jesus. And it was like and then we found out it was like 250 per box, like 250 quid for 1 kg. I think it was like each bag had like eight bags in it and they were all like 1 kg. So it was just like, Jesus, man, the amount of chickens that were just slaughtered here for lads. And then everyone started going on this like tandem trail of like, can you imagine all the KFC workers just sitting in there just having to murder a load of chickens like every day? Dark stuff, people. Dark stuff.
Fair enough.
My week has been very mundane, and this is just the only thing that could bottom up for the podcast.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So there you go. Rest in peace, all the chickens. So, what is your out of context weekly scenario?
My out of context weekly scenario is an unwelcome house guest.
Again, this is the second time you've had this in like 4 weeks. Okay, another
Did I say that
guest.
before?
Yeah, yeah, you said this before. Is it the package you ordered that came to the house?
No,
Okay. That you put in your story, not the one you put in your story yesterday.
no, no,
No. Did someone that we know show up at your house?
no.
Yeah, you said this like a couple of weeks ago when Kelsey and Adam showed up at your house.
That, well, hold on a minute. They were not unwelcome house guests. They were surprise.
Oh, you said unwelcome. Oh, I thought you were. Oh, sorry, sorry, my bad.
No,
So
yeah, yeah.
unwelcome
An unwelcome
was the
house guest.
was the guards.
No.
Who's unwelcome? Was it something to do with, like some kind of like delivery driver that per se that like area, like the milkman or something like that?
No.
Who's unwelcome at your house? Was it like an animal of some sort, like came into the house? Like, yeah, okay, okay. So has it anything to do with the animals in the back garden?
Um, sort of. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't part of the any of the animals you have in your back garden.
No, it wasn't any of the ones that have names.
Okay, for context for our listeners, Sean has a lot of animals in his back garden. Examples: pigeons, horses, dogs. Anyway, so did someone come in? So did an animal come through the front door? Did you have the front door and an animal came in?
No.
No. So, but they get somehow were able to get into the house either through a window or door per se. Was there a bird? Did like a bird fly into the house when you had the window open? No. Did a dog come in through like the back door?
No, they would not be unwelome. They'd be very welcome. Maybe not in
Yeah, that'd
Jimmy's
be true.
eyes, but in my eyes, the dogs are always welcome.
The only thing I'm thinking of is like a horse somehow was able to get into the house because you have a horse in the backyard and a horse did come in before into your house.
No.
You know that meme is Tony Soprano on the horse in the sitting room. Uh, okay, so an animal came into. Oh, was it a smaller animal like a rat or a mouse came in? Okay, okay, okay. So did you just is was it like in the kitchen there was like a little you
No.
found like little droplings or something?
No.
Okay.
You're right. You're nearly there. Like
Yeah.
you've hit the post.
You got like a ratatouille situation going on in your house. Um, okay, so let me find out the room. So was it? So I said it wasn't in the kitchen. So was it in the sitting room?
No.
No. Was it in your office room? No.
No.
Was it in the bedroom?
No.
The toilet?
Nope. There's literally only one other
There's
room.
only one more room, which is Simone's office upstairs.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So there was. Did you find many mice, or was it like
No,
one
it was
mouse,
just one
or
mouse. So yeah, I'll give
one
that to
mouse?
you. You've got
Okay.
that now. Yeah, we just found a mouse in Simone's office. I say we found we actually so we didn't find droppings, but what we did find was I gotten Simone a box of chocolates. I don't even think these were for Valentine's Day. I think these were before that, like just over a few weeks before. And there was a box of Lindor, and Simone went to grab one and eat one, but she noticed one of the Lindors had like been chewed through, but like it wasn't like the wrapper was open, like it was still sealed shut, but like there was just like bite marks in the front
Scratchings
door
and
and
yeah.
like the wrapper had been scratched off, like So she sends me a photo of this. Like I think I'm in the gym or something like that, and she goes, I think we have a mouse friend." I said, "Okay, grand." And then later on that day, I heard Simone kind of jumped in her office, and the mouse ran across the room. So yeah, we had a mouse in the house. And yesterday, no, Tuesday was his last day. We caught little Stuart. We've been calling him Stuart, and just kind of been like, I Simone was like really like freaked out by it. I'm like, I don't really mind. Like rats, yeah, rats carry disease. Mice obviously will have not great health repercussions, but they're not half as bad. I don't mind them. Like we were kind of surprised that it's taken us this long to get a mouse in the house because it's
Considering you've like so many animals in the back as well,
that's it, because like it's not uncommon to see a mouse or a rat
yeah,
outside, and there's lots of
yeah,
mouse and rat traps and poison just because of the horses and because of all the animals. Like it does just attract that type of thing. And to be fair, like we keep the house fairly clean. Like we do like make a point to keep it clean because of that reason. Like
yeah,
because we know if you leave food crumbs lying around, or if you leave like if something was to be left untouched, and that's exactly what happened. Like Simone had left her chocolate somewhere, and a mouse had managed to find it and then kind of just set up camp in Simone's office. And we think it kind of went in behind the wardrobes and just set up there and would come out whenever we weren't around. Like we'd see it sometimes when like Simone would be like walking around. Like
So did you just have like 30 traps all in the room and you
yeah, we
just
had like
like that
we
was
had
like
like
an
four
you
of them.
just didn't enter the room for like 4 days?
No, no. To be fair, like once we put the traps down on Monday night and he was caught by Tuesday, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually quite sad, like looking at them when they're dead, like that.
Yeah, it I don't know, like you know, it kind of on some part of the way it's like, well, you're not kind of welcome in the house, but then also it's like, oh, I don't feel like my boy should go like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
always
like
look,
I really like kind of how I feel about all animals. Like they're not actually causing you any harm. Like
no.
but they do carry disease. They if you let one mouse in, many you will end up with mice at some point. Like so you do have to get rid of it because if he starts bringing his pals over and isn't paying rent, there's consequences. You know.
I like I'm kind of in the same situation with you. I wouldn't be too. I'm actually not too bothered with rats either. I know they again, like you were saying, they do carry a lot of diseases and stuff like that. But obviously, um, I'm a big fan of Ratatouille. I know that has nothing to do with actual real life rats. Let me just put that out there before I sound like a psychopath. But anyway, we and Nicola were traveling during Interrail a couple of years ago, and we were outside a restaurant. I think it was in like Bruges or something, and we were having a food like really late at night. I think it was like 9:30 or something like that, and it was like a really like side street pub and like a rat had like came out of the bushes and like Nicola obviously was freaking out because I was like, I was crying, Nicola, like he'll just go away, but instead of like running off, he just like kept running to the other side of the road and then running back past our table and just kept doing this like over and over again, like and then it was up to a point where like I literally had to get some food and like throw it to like the other side of the road so that he could actually eventually decide, okay, he's after giving me a bit of grub. I'm gonna run over to the side of the road there and just munch on it over there. But it was so funny. It's kind of like that scene in Ratatouille where your man's like finished in the kitchen and he sees a rat and he throws it out like across the road for Remy.
Yeah, it's like
Except I wasn't get
just
my hair pulled.
picture you in Bruges, like giving this rat some cheese and strawberries.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My full life moment is gonna happen. Then the
Maybe
next thing you know, I'm picking him up and he's in my hair and he's just
maybe he was trying to manifest, the way like chickens get all their buzz with why does the chicken cross the road. Maybe he was trying to manifest why does the rat cross the road as some
you
sort of
never know.
you
He's
know.
maybe trying to start his new trend in his. I don't know what you call a group of rats. Do you know? I don't know. I'm actually gonna look that up right now. I'd actually never know what that is.
I mean, like I
Hold
know
on.
this isn't specific to rats, but I know like the animal group they are is rodents. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, yeah,
I know
yeah.
I know what you mean. Like I don't know what you would call like a pack of rats. You know,
Oh, a group of rats is most commonly called a mischief.
a mischief. There you go.
Yeah. Highlights their intelligent yet often troublesome and chaotic behavior. You know what? That's actually fair. That's a fair push.
I told the rat story on the podcast before, didn't I?
I don't think so.
Did I not tell this?
I sure go on say it again, even if you did.
Okay, yeah, this is a good story. So even for anybody who hasn't heard it for a while, it's still a good story. And if you haven't heard it before, it's also funny. So, as I mentioned there, we have horses and pigeons, and we've got Xena, and there's been chickens out there at some points. There's it's like Animal Farm out the back in our place, which is grand. It's lovely, but as me and Imran said, sometimes that does attract some rats and some mice and stuff like that. And I say that was the first time we had a mouse in the house, but it wasn't the first time we had a rat in the house. And the rat was a bit of more of a chaotic and funny situation. So one night, me and Simone, this is about a year and a half ago, Simone had gone to bed to have a shower, and I was doing the closing shift, locking the doors, turning the lights off, making the tea, bringing the tea up to bed, letting the dog out for her nighttime slash grand, no problem. And then I was letting the dog out, and I opened the back door, and there's a rat kind of like about a meter away from the back door, and Xena sees the rat and just like goes pure feral, pure animal mode, and it tries to kill it. Like it has happened. Like Xena's killed one or two pigeons. She's killed a rat before, as well. It's just her pure animal instincts kicking in. Not much you can really do when it just happens. Like her adrenaline pumps up and she just goes. Anyway, so the rat goes into this corner beside the back door behind our bins, and Xena's going ballistic trying to get it out and just trying to catch it. And because I like stepped out to try and pull Xena back and get her away from it, she the rat basically comes out then, and because I had left the back door unwatched, then it ran into the house because it was trying to escape the dog.
Hmm.
Unfortunately and fortunately, my kitchen to sitting room door was open, but the door from the sitting room to the hall, which would go to my office and upstairs, that was closed. So the rat gets into the sitting room and runs behind a two-piece couch set, and Xena is going ballistic, just running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just basically has the thing cornered. And so like, oh fuck's sake! So I text Simone from downstairs and was like, hey, there's an. I also didn't realize it was a rat at this point. I only saw like quick glimpses of it. So I said, oh, there's a mouse in the house. Just if you come downstairs, don't open the sitting room door because
Yeah.
it's right beside there, and it'll get upstairs and it'll be a nightmare. She goes, grand. So she comes downstairs and like is looking through the sitting room door, and then she gets a glimpse at this thing, and it's about the size of my shoe, which is a size 12 shoe, and she goes, Simone then just screams, goes, Shaun, it's a fucking rat, it's not a fucking mouse, blah, blah. And then so it's panic stations, just absolute fucking pure hysteria in the house. So then we're like, what the fuck do we do, blah, blah. So we'd go in and knock into Simone's dad next door and say, Mick, can you help us? There's a rat in the house. And Simone's dad's like ready for bed. Like, he's like, lights are off. Like, he's like
In his gym jams.
pretty much like, in more respectful terms, yes, that's what he was in. And so he has to come in, and we have to spend half an hour building like a race course for the rat to get out, because Xena's keeping it cornered behind the couch, going ballistic. Like, no, literally, like this whole time, this whole thing happens over the course of about 45 minutes. Xena does not stop running side to side on the couch trying to catch this rat. So Xena's keeping the rat cornered in, and me and Simone's dad have to go and pick up pieces of like bits of wood at the back, sheets of metal, big bits of cardboard and plastic. So we to basically make a Mario Kart racetrack, so that when we pull the couch out, the rat only has one way to run.
Way
So
to
it doesn't
run.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, so it doesn't go under the TV or like under something in the kitchen, like under the washing machine or under the fridge or anything like that. It just so it has a straight run out, you know. And yeah, about 45 minutes go by, we build it, and we get the rat out, and yeah, it's safe to say Xena, once she calmed down, she didn't move for about 2 or 3 days, just pure exhaustion.
And then I can just imagine someone just watching the whole thing from your hallway door.
Yeah, but that's also kind of made it a bit funnier as well. Like, she'd kind of just sit there, like, she was like
She's just observing.
the old lads in the Muppets that are just watching in the crowd. That's
Yeah,
what
they
Simone was
don't.
like the whole time. Like, she couldn't come in because, of course, nothing in this house works. That door for the sitting room, this is still the case. It doesn't have like an actual like push lock on it. So like you can't to open the sitting room door, you just push, and to close it, you just push. Like, there's no
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
actual
There's
like,
no actual lock on the door.
yeah. So like if that door opens, the rat's gonna get
Get
there.
out.
Like. So
Of
Simone's actually there
course.
like holding it back, like so it doesn't.
Sitting for 45 minutes just holding the door.
Mm,
That's a good comparison with the old rats, man.
mm, mm.
They're fun. They're funny animals. Like I know, like they can cause a lot of hysteria in households, and I know it's not great, especially when you've got kids around, like you were saying before, with diseases and stuff. But I do sometimes feel like they do get a bad rep because of like the plague and like everything that had went on prior.
Yeah,
No, but
the
like you know what I
Black
mean. Yeah, they
Black
do.
Plague.
I feel like yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like sometimes like necessarily like it's not necessarily their fault. Like they are just animals at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like, man,
Yeah.
like if I see a rat outside, I don't do anything. Like, there's traps and stuff out there that Simone's dad has set out there, but I just leave them be. Like, I don't mind. Like, it's when they come into your house, and like, that's when it kind of gets to, okay, we need to take care of you now level.
I mean, even like I'm gonna stop talking about Ratatouille now, but even that scene where like they all fall from the ceiling, and it's like there's like over like 50 rats. Like, can you imagine being in that situation where like
Mm.
50 rats are in your gaff? Like, I think I'd shit myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just because you got to think of like all the food you have around in the house in the cupboards. You don't know how long they've been there for. There's like over 50 rats just munching on your cheese and strawberries.
Mm. Cheese and
Yeah,
strawberries.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that kind of moves nicely into the topic for the week as well. We kind of touched on this a little bit last week, and we thought it'd be an interesting one to kind of come back on and talk about in a little bit more depth. But our topic for this week is our relationship with food. I know this week we could just title the episode Ratatouille. Honestly, if we wanted to, because it's hitting all the markers for the first few minutes of this. But yeah, we wanted to talk about our relationship with food because it came up last week, and yeah, it was heading somewhere interesting, but we were just we were talking about a different topic. Um, and as I've kind of mentioned on the podcast many times over the last year, I've been on a diet and I've been losing weight and stuff like that, and we've kind of touched on it in kind of small pieces, and yeah, we just thought it'd be an interesting thing to kind of like delve a little bit deeper on with this week. I wonder for you. I think it might be interesting for you because for me, have always been a guy who's been skinny, who's been fit. How would you describe your relationship with food? Like, because that might be an oversimplification from me because I'm somebody who's been obese for 10 plus years. Like, you may not see
Mhm.
yourself that way. Like, and that might trigger. And I apologize if that does, Imran.
No, no.
But like, that's my perception of you is you've always been a very fit, active, healthy guy.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably said it on the podcast before. I played GA for probably about 12 to 15 years, training 3 times a week, game of the weekend, went to the gym, and always been fairly skinny, like Shaun said before. And then maybe I'd say during the PLC year, for about a year, I stopped playing, enjoyed myself, went out on the drink, had a few. It was shit eating, kind of stopped going to the gym a bit. And then I've kind of had like on and off relationship with eating healthy and then not eating healthy. The one thing I say that I probably have never done is I've never gone to the factor of binge eating for a long process time, if that makes sense. If it means like, I'm not talking from an emotional aspect, but I mean, I've always had a very balanced diet. I mean, I know very rarely, like a lot of the time, like I would have the same kind of food groups. And then I've never really gone through factors of time where I'm just constantly eating shit food. I mean, I know we all do it, we go on holidays and enjoy ourselves, but then I'm kind of like very good at like coming back and resetting the body and stuff like that. I'd say over recent years, I probably fell off a bit more in terms of, consistently in like freshly whole cooked meals, which I probably had a lot growing up because my mom was vegan. So I used to have a lot of vegan products and then substitute it in with meat. So I think on that aspect, I was kind of very lucky. I didn't really grow up a lot of like white bread and sweets and chocolate and stuff like that. I think like looking back, I was probably when I was a kid, I was probably like, oh, I wish I kind of had that more in my diet. But then as I kind of got older, I kind of feel like a bit there was more of a blessing for it because I didn't gain so much weight maybe compared to some other kids that that didn't have that luxury of like whole like fresh fruit and fresh vegetables and stuff. I'm not saying like that from like a money perspective, but I mean like a time I think is a big factor when it comes into making food. And I think years ago, especially like our parents' generation, like the idea of food was looked at from a different perspective. Where compared to nowadays, like we didn't get into it too much at depth last week about like kind of the idea of like calorie counting and bringing in like what kind of like proteins are in certain food groups. And like I think the biggest thing I'm finding now, I think, and I kind of spoke about this prior last week, was that there's a lot of education with food now, but the problem is I think there's so much misinformation that kind of confuses a lot of people, and even myself. Like I still to this day get very sometimes confused with, protein intake, fat intake, index charts, like what you should be eating per weight or energy produce. So, I would say overall have an okay relationship with food. I think it's something that I'm trying to get better at, but it's something that I haven't say I've nailed and I'm implementing great. I mean, it's probably a good kind of way now to reflect back on you. And like, I don't, again, we're not judging here, we're just friends talking. I would say, like, obviously yourself are a bit bigger. And
Yeah,
growing
yeah,
up, you had,
yeah.
yeah, growing up, you had a good bit of weight on you. And now, like you've said before, you're starting to eat a bit better. You're going to the gym. You lost loads of weight last year. Like, how can you reflect back on when you were a kid? And I know you've spoke a bit about it before, like about kind of like the idea of binge eating and stuff like that. So like, how would you relate back from when you were a kid growing up, or when we were in secondary school, and then like compared to where you are now, where you're kind of starting to learn a bit more and develop and stuff like that?
Yeah, like for me, like I nearly had a very opposite situation to you. Like you mentioned your mom being vegan and like having that kind of like health, more kind of health focused type of relationship with food from an early age. I had the opposite where my mom, you know, she just was not into cooking food at all. So like I was reared up until the age of about 15, 16, like I was reared on like just frozen processed food, or for the most part anyway. Like if I'd say five of my meals a week was a frozen dinner that's reheated, and then like maybe one day a week it would be something that was more on the home cooked end, like with chicken breast or a steak, or something to like that requires like more of a cooking instinct. And then like you'd have like a takeaway once a week as well. And then when I got to like 16, 17, I I knew myself I didn't enjoy, and I like I didn't really enjoy that food. But then I started to cook myself, and this has been like great, and I don't regret starting that. Because I love to cook. Like it's something I'm really really passionate about. It's something I love to do pretty much every day. Um, but with that as well, because I was just learn. I didn't go to any sort of school. I literally just am very self taught. Like I just was like, right, this tastes good. It is good. Like but with that, then I started like adding lots of oils, lots of like even just like cuts of meat that are very high in fat that like I wasn't really aware of. And then like what you touched on there as well, I was really really bad for binge eating at one point. And even like it's something that up until I started my diet, like it was something I still kind of had in my system. It was definitely like at its worst up until I was about 21. When and then when I moved out my mom's, it got a little bit better. But then during times of like high stress, like I would like easily like walk to a shop and buy like 20 quid's worth of crap, like and then it didn't even have to be specifically like one group of food. Like it could be sweets, it could be crisps, it could be you know it could be like a chicken roll, it could be a chipper. Like I would buy these things and just check, and it was just for like an endorphin hit. Like it was just like, this tastes good, it makes me feel good, and that was that. Like and like I did that for years, and even like at some point, like around the time my mom died and dying and stuff, like it was something I did quite a lot as well. um and I'm very like grateful for Simone to like she kind of like would acknowledge it and go, "Are you stress eating?" And I just say, "Yeah," and she'd go, "Okay, cool, no problem." Just so she knew what was going on. But like I really appreciated that with Simone. Um, but since you know doing this diet and stuff, it's been amazing. And like what's really helped with me is like I've tried to not overcomplicate it. Like I started off and I was like, look, I'm just gonna count calories and I'm still gonna eat whatever the fuck I want. Like then like even for the first like 2.5 stone that I lost, I was still eating like you know I cook quite a lot, but like it'd be little things like after playing football, I'd still stick like a frozen pizza on because it was quick and convenient, like but I would make it work on my deficit, and I lost a lot of weight doing that. But over the last kind of, I'd say 6 months, I've really shifted my priorities to being like, right, okay, I want to get like good lean natural proteins, and like work in healthy fats, and like work in food that I know is going to make me feel good. Maybe being like a lot more aware of like vegetables and stuff. Like and here's the thing with me as well, is like I'm not a picky eater at all, and like I'm definitely like somebody who is a volume eater. Like I've always loved eating salads, I've always loved eating vegetables, like I've always enjoyed eating fruits and stuff. But it's never been like, oh, Sean's picky eater and Sean only likes crap. It's actually quite the opposite. Like I, even before I started my diet, I would make myself salads, but I'd be making salads, putting olive oil in them, putting like just fatty cuts of chicken into it, putting like bits of bacon in, putting like croutons, stuff that was just like from now I now look at that and go, Jesus Christ, like my lunch was like 1,200 calories, like which is like most of your calories for the day. But
Hmm.
I've made myself more aware of what I should or shouldn't be putting into my body.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like you said there, it can be a thing of, trial and error with food groups, and it's something myself that I've experienced. And I think the one thing I find that the misconception is with food is that people have this idea you have to give up all the stuff you like to eat. And like again, that's like not the case, especially with calorie intake and stuff like that. Of course, it's better, like you were saying there, to introduce food groups that are a bit more healthier, like ground beef, turkey, chicken. It doesn't necessarily have to be. You can just substitute things for the food groups that you like. And I think that's what the good thing about, like Sean was saying, like at the start when he was trying to lose weight, he wasn't completely cutting it out. It was just like a reducement over time, and then he was getting a bit more education on what foods he can bring in. What's like something that you like take for granted that you take for granted when you were trying to lose weight? Like, was there any like things that you were trying to like overlook that maybe you learned a bit more further down the line? Like in terms of like, is there things that you could substitute in? Like you often see now, it's like you've got like protein kind of bars, protein shakes. You've got this idea of 2% calories, barbecue sauces, things like that. Were they like factors at the start that you didn't really take into into consideration, or is that something now that you kind of like are a bit more aware of and that you try to like bring in less more into your diet and that kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, like I think like one of the things I've learned that's been most important is to literally just read the labels on your food. Like look at what's in your food, like pick it up and like read the nutritional information, which sounds really boring. It is. It's not very rock and roll. It's not great crack around like that. But read what's in it. Like read. And there's like I see lots of food content now because of this sort of stuff, and there's so much about like look at the list of ingredients. I can't pronounce half the ingredients. Like if you knew all the chemicals that were in a banana, an apple, an orange, like these are natural chemicals that come from just being part of your like most of them are also there's like a long list of chemicals and vitamins and sugars and stuff that are naturally in those things. So like some people do try and fear monger some groups of food,
Mm.
but like honestly, that's been a big thing for me is like just reading the label on things, like and understanding the effect that food has on you, like because like I see a lot of people as well being like, and I did this to a certain extent, but not totally, because like I said, I tried to just do like whatever my calories were. I just try and like make them work in the day. But a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't have carbs, you shouldn't have bread, you shouldn't have pasta, you shouldn't have rice. Quite the opposite. You should actually really eat those things if you are somebody who's really active, who trains quite a lot. And like I'm now at a point where I go to the gym 3 times a week. I play football twice a week. I'm rehearsing with the band, so like I'm really really active now. So I do actually need carbs in my diet because carbs are what gives you energy. So for the first while, it's not that I was like totally cutting pasta out of my diet, but pasta is very high for very small amounts. Like
Yeah.
100 grams of pasta is like what on, and like I say this, like 100 grams of pasta would be like half of my old portion. Like so when I started off, and I was like, oh my god, that's fuck all pasta. Like yeah, right. I'd rather eat like a lettuce bowl, or like I'd also have like swap out cauliflower rice for normal rice, which anybody who's ever tried cauliflower rice, it's not terrible, but it's not great. You need to drown it in sauce. Like you need to
Yeah.
drown it in your chili mints or whatever like you're putting on top of it. Like it's not like nice normal basmati or pilau rice where you can have a forkful of that by itself and it tastes nice. Like no, you need sauce on cauliflower rice because it does taste like cardboard. In that sense.
And
But yeah,
do you sorry to cut across it, but do you use like any apps, like just for any of our listeners that maybe want to try get involved? Like, is there any websites or apps that helped you in your kind of journey with all this kind of weight loss things?
yeah, I've been using an app called LifeSum. It's and there's a paid version you can pay for it if you want. I don't think you'll ever need to. I've never once paid for it, and I think I'm on day like 300 now on it, and it works exactly like MyFitnessPal, but it's a much easier interface to use. It tracks your activity levels if you have got like an Apple Watch or a fitness band or something like that. It'll track your activity levels with that as well. There's like a thing in it where you can keep track of your weight inside it. You can scan barcodes on most foods, and you can also like do what I like about it as well. You can do quick tracking as well. So like say, for example, I went out like on Tuesday. I went out with my grandmother for lunch, and I went out and we had Zambrero. So I can't tell exactly what the calories are in that because it depends on how
Of course.
much chicken somebody scoops up, depends on how much rice. It could be 100 grams, could be 120 grams, could be 80 grams. You don't know. So in that situation, what I normally do is I pop it into ChatGPT and I just get a quick estimate. And in LifeSum, you can do like quick tracking, so you can just be like, look, I had a meal, I don't know exactly what was in it, but here was the calories, here was the protein, and then you can move on with your day from there on out. So yeah, LifeSum is great. I know a lot of people use MyFitnessPal as well. I personally don't love it that much, but if it helps you get in a bit easier, use that as well. And TikTok is really good for it as well. Like look for good recipes, like just if something, one thing I would say is if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Like just like look at your meals and stuff through that eye. Yeah, just something to consider.
I mean, like, yeah, I think again, like, it is great to say that from Sean's perspective, like he was able to kind of do it on himself with the kind of like reflection and using the My Protein app and the other there One Lifestyle. I think the another thing to look at is like what a lot of people. I mean, it mainly just bring it towards the fitness level, but there's a lot of people now in the fitness industry that bring in like nutrition, and they're more like they do like dietary plans. So I think there's also it can be really helpful to have someone that's working in the industry that if you do need a bit of support. I mean, again, with Sean, it kind of is like a trial and error thing. You do need to look around because there is people that in the industry now that are very early into their career. So maybe if you're looking for someone who has a bit more experience, like look around, you can find some people even in your local area that are really good with nutrition plans and dietary plans. And that doesn't necessarily, I think a lot of the time we always put dietary plans and programs like this connected to fitness. I know there's a lot of people that have no interest in going to the gym, but you can also burn a lot of calories just walking. You know, if you walk 45 minutes a day every day, you know, you're going to burn more calories than depending on your job, obviously. I mean, like I work in a kitchen, so I walk a lot anyway. But I mean, in terms of like if you're in an office, you know, and you're just going out and you can do a 2.5 hour walk every day, you know, it depends. Like it doesn't have to be the level of fitness that everyone expects it to be. Just necessarily like Sean was saying there, he likes football, he goes to the gym. Myself, I'll go running, I play a bit of football and during the summer. So it kind of just depends on if you find what niche you can kind of bring into your life as well.
Yeah,
Again,
and
it's
you know,
probably more Rob. Sorry, yeah,
sorry,
you
go
come.
ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, it's more, again, necessarily just kind of finding, like, what interests you have and then implement it on a daily plan with your food diet. But again, like, everything I find with food is, like, really trial and error. You need to find food groups that you enjoy to eat that are somewhat healthy. You don't have to completely cut out. If you like to have a little Freddo bar, you have your little Freddo bar. You just fit it into your calorie intake. That's if you're losing weight now. We're just talking about from a perspective from relationships with food that we have. That doesn't necessarily that you're in a position where you need to lose weight if you're a listener. We're just kind of talking from a point of view that Sean's on a weight loss thing at the moment. For me, I'm always just trying to eat in healthy food groups because I'm not necessarily training for anything or planning for anything. So again, yeah, that's kind of my experience at the moment.
Yeah, and like, just to stress as well, like if anybody else is looking to lose weight, you actually the whole thing with like calories in, calories out. If you set a decent, so like I right now for me, I'm eating 2,000 calories a day. My maintenance is 2,700. So before I even get out of bed, so and this is really important. Like 2 weeks ago when I sprained my ankle, that I wasn't able to do an awful lot of exercise. Like I was on crutches for a few days. Like so I was only getting like 1,000, 1,500 steps for a week at one point. Like which made me feel like shit because I'm normally used to getting like 8,000. And even at that, like I'll go to the gym and like get on the treadmill and run. And even like I still can't run on the treadmill right now. I was in the gym yesterday and like I went and done like half an hour just walking just because I'm used to like working up a sweat doing running. But what I'm trying to say is your maintenance calories should just be if you were to not even get out of bed and you just ate 2,000 calories, you'd still burn 700 just by being alive. And steps are honestly one of the best things to do as well. Like if you don't want to like go to the gym, like and I know like I'll be honest, I don't want to go to the gym either. And that's what we kind of touched on that last week. I just
Yeah,
want to get it out of the way. Like that's my motivation to get up and go. I just want to get out there as soon as possible. But if you don't want to go to the gym, that's fine. Go for a walk. Just have a step goal for the day. Look at your calories, and everything else you can fine tune it as you go along. I feel like a lot of people because I've obviously like kind of jumped on and off diets and stuff over the years as well. And I
so
feel like what a lot of people try to do is like reinvent the wheel. They try and go right, okay, let's do a calorie deficit. Let's do 200 grams of protein a day. Let's do 10,000 steps a day. Blah blah blah. And they try and basically reinvent their whole lives in like a week, and that's really uncomfortable and really unsettling. And then in 2 weeks' time, when you get fed up with that, you'll fall off the horse. I'd really recommend to anybody just do one thing at a time. Like I said, I lost 2.5 stone at the beginning on just like not changing anything. I was still eating like some processed foods. I still eat some processed foods now, like and processed. And one thing that's really important is no food is bad food. Like
no.
guilt is not an ingredient. Make your favorite foods work into your diet. Um, but yeah, it's like just take it one step at a time. Just start off by like one thing I'd say if anybody's looking to lose weight, just start counting your calories. You don't even need to start like going down in maintenance. Just that's what I done for the first 2 weeks. Like for 2 weeks, I just started tracking them, and I was like, where am I going wrong in this? And I realized I was eating like 4,000 calories a day, on stuff like the salad I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And then like I'd have, a Marks and Spencer cookie, which is like 350 calories. I then like have a full fat Coke with my dinner. Stuff like that that was just piling on like useless calories when like if you just make those little swaps from full fat Coke to Coke Zero, which are quite easy,
Yeah.
instead of getting the normal bagels, get the skinny bagels. Like it's stuff like that, and that you can like fine tune it as you go. Don't try and reinvent the wheel at the very start. Like don't go gym calories tracking 200 grams of protein in 1 week, because if you do that, great. Like I'm not saying like don't do like you can't do that, but it's easier just to introduce these things one bit at a time.
That's why I was saying with food and like even fitness, it's very much trial and error, and you just need to find something that works with your routine, your kind of lifestyle. I think, I know I kind of agree with pretty much everything Sean was saying. I think a good place to start if you don't want to go down the route of like looking with someone like a dietitian or like a GP or a fitness someone in the fitness industry, just even look up your calorie intake. It's very easy if you look up on Google like what's my calorie intake, and then they'll bring it to like there's some official websites. I can even give you one right now. That check your like BMR, which is essentially is like how much your body burns during your resting periods. And again, I'm not talking from someone who knows a lot here. This is just very general stuff that you can find out online. But again, this depends a lot on like how much like what age you are, your height, your sex. So I think that's a good place to start, because then from there you kind of find a base level and then you can implement a dietary plan from there. So I'll get a website really quickly there. I don't know if Sean has anything else he wants to bring up on the topic before we move on.
Just like I said, like no, it's baby steps. There's good days and bad days. Yeah, I feel like there was kind of one or two other things, but like no food is bad food. It's important to work in, and it just actually something that comes up quite a lot is like the idea of cheat meals and stuff. I have one cheat meal a week, um, and you know, I think it's important to just make it a meal, not a day, because I see people have cheat days, and that's where things can get off track. And even on my cheat meals, that day, like I'll try and have like really low calories for breakfast and lunch. So then when I have a higher calorie meal at dinner time, it will kind of balance itself out. It like I kind of my aim with my cheat meals is to like not be in a deficit, just to be at maintenance on that day. So like I might only have like 1,000 calories for breakfast and lunch, and then my cheat meal can be like 2,000 calories. But because I've gone for a walk that day, because my maintenance is 2,700, like if I eat 3,000 to 3,500, I'll only maybe end up gaining an extra 100 calories or something like that. When throughout the course of the week I've burnt 700 a day, I can afford
Yeah.
to have that 100. Um, but yeah, just where I'm at the moment is like I've lost 6 stone so far. I just crossed that the other day. I'm nearly
You
at 100. I'm nearly at 100 pounds. I'm 1 stone away from 100 pounds.
That'd be a
Um,
good day.
yeah, that would be a good day. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, sorry. Last thing I want to say. This was coming to mind. The best diet is the diet you can stick to. If you can't see yourself doing this for 4 or 5 years, now you might not need to lose weight for
Do it
four
for
or
that
five
long
years. Like
either.
no,
Yeah.
I would imagine most people, if even if you're around my size, it'll take you probably a year and a half. I'm about halfway through it at the moment. But if I was to be like with myself now, if I had to do this for another 3 or 4 years, I could do it because I've made it work for me, because I introduce foods that I like. So best bit of advice is the best diet for you. Don't worry about keto. Don't worry about vegan. Don't worry about these trendy diets. I'm not saying vegan's a trend, by the way, but I'm just saying like don't pick a diet because you think you know it'll like no, the best diet you can do
It
is the
needs to
diet
match
you'll
to
stick
you.
to. Exactly,
Yeah.
it needs to suit your lifestyle. And
Yeah.
like mine adapts and changes. It's fluctuated. Like no, what I'm eating now is very different to what I was eating at the start. Like in the gym, what I was doing in the gym when I first started is very different to what I do now. You evolve, you fine tune, and you make
Exactly.
progress.
Yeah, that website was calorie.net was the one I used. And there's many others. This is just one of the ones that they recommend from healthcare providers. So yeah, again, like what Sean said, find one that works with you. And I'm sure there's lots more we could talk about down the line in terms of relationship with food, but we'll get to that at
If
a later
anybody
time.
has any questions about that sort of stuff, do
Yeah,
send them in to the Instagram.
yeah. So feel
Cool.
free to do.
Right, so enough about me talking about myself and licking my own arse.
Ah, he loves it.
We're moving on to current affairs. So yeah, this week in Ireland has been crazy for what's been going on with fuel prices. So because of what's going on, with Mr. Trump and Iran and the situation in the Middle East. Fuel prices have skyrocketed. I think they've gone up over €2 a litre. Now, this is probably bad of me to say, right? But as somebody who is a driver on the roads of Ireland, I've no idea what a good or bad petrol price is. I just rock up. I know that about 75 quid will fill my tank, and then I pay the person in the shop, and I say thank you very much, goodbye.
I'm the same.
I don't know what's good or bad, but there's been a lot of talk about fuel prices in Irish media because like they have skyrocketed, and even like it was like Saturday night when this kind of broke. And like I was saying to someone, I was like, should I go to the garage early in the morning and like just fill up the tank? It's gonna go and go. And I didn't end up doing that. I'm kind of like, shit, I should have done that now because it's after going up €2 a litre since.
Yeah, I remember when we had this snow in Blanchardstown. It was kind of like near the Dunboyne area about 4 to 5 years ago. I was living in Dunboyne at the time, and it was like queues of people trying to get fuel just in case they couldn't get to the petrol stations. When I was when you had brought this up before the podcast, I just looked up like what's like an average of, because again I'd be like the same as Sean, wouldn't really know much about prices or anything like that, and if it's expensive or not. I kind of I saw if anything is like up to €2, that's kind of expensive, like for a liter. It said here that on average it used to be 170 to 190 per liter. I don't know what did you find out what the prices were this week?
It's about 2.1 per litre
Yeah,
for petrol,
that's
like, and
expensive.
it's about 2 per litre for diesel, like, which is like I know just from driving by petrol stations that's like high. Just for something I have here, oil prices have jumped up to €100 a barrel,
Damn.
and the tanker and basically there's lots of governments around the world that are releasing more emergency oil reserves to calm down the market. That's how bad it is,
I always find it really funny because it's like this kind of jumps into like the conclusion of like retail builder site talk, like when you fall into that
Mm.
bracket of like we need to give out about something in the government. It's like this is like the go-to that everyone can kind of relate to because 90% of us drive. um, so it's always funny when like topics like this get brought up. But I always find it like it is like when you're beginning to drive, this is not like something you become very aware of, because it's more about the practical side of driving. And then it's like only after a while when you start driving regularly and you have to pay petrol out of your own money, and like you said now, like you're living away from home, your parents aren't providing for you anymore. That's when it kind of comes into like, Jesus, 85 quid to fill up the tank. Do
Mm.
you know what I mean?
I
That's
kind of
four takeaways.
I look at it from a perspective of like I will try to like I will fill up the tank when I get paid, and then like it only matters then like if I have to top it up again before the end of the month. That's how I'm like, and that's also very dependent on how much I drive as well. But like that, if I have to like top up the car by like another like 40 or 50 quid, I'd be like, fucking hell, like, what's going on here, like, and again, that's more me driving the car than anything else, like, but that's kind of where I feel the most. I try and like budget for it because, either that because I don't take the bus anymore, I'm not spending 20 quid a week on my leave card, like, so I kind of look at it
Yeah.
that way as well. Um,
I remember when I had Betsy the first time, because I was only really driving to Blanchardstown shopping centre, and then also to the Astro up in Ongar when we used to play on Tuesdays. Like that kind of was like the most of my driving, and then the odd time I drive up to Nicola when I was staying at hers, I'd only have to spend about like 35 to 40 a week. But most of the time, like with cars, you probably should be doing a full tank because they kind of need it. If you're constantly just like letting it run down to like the barrel, it can be tough on the L car. And unfortunately for Betsy, she did experience that a lot with me when I was living away from home at the time as well. So yeah, rest in peace, Betsy again.
yeah, and like it's with my when I had Betsy then, it's like it's gas. I think I threw 50 quid into her in October 24, and I didn't need to put petrol into her again until like February March because I was doing such little driving because I still hadn't passed my test.
Yeah,
Like all I was doing was like going from here around to Aldi and back, and that was all the driving I was doing most weeks until I got closer to a test date, and then obviously I'd start ramping up. But I couldn't believe how long I got out with that 50 quid, and that was something I noticed like very quickly. Like it was like ramping up. Like I got to that March, and then I passed my test in April last year, and like it was like that March April. I think I'd spent more in those few weeks on petrol than I did like the whole like 6 months before when I had the car. Um, and yeah, it's just kind of mad how it kind of plays on the mind.
I think it's like when you're like a college student, it kind of comes in like with terms of like that's when most people probably decide to start driving, and then you kind of I mean I broke away from like kind of income from my parents like very young, and I think a lot of people are maybe in similar situations where they're probably still living at home. They kind of can rely on the extra bit of cash for fuel and stuff. So I feel like that's where it's kind of like you start realizing how much important it is, like what budgeting kind of comes into play, especially when you're in college. In terms of like, I know you were big on making like, you used to make soup a lot, like so you could bring to lunch when you're in work and stuff like that. So that's when it kind of comes in clutch with like your food groups and like learning how to
Yeah,
budget
I
wise.
I just see videos of like girls and they're like, oh, the petrol fairy came to visit after their dad used the car.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
I cannot relate to any of those things.
No, a dad, and a fairy.
Yeah, and having the petrol topped up for me, you know.
Yeah, no, no.
Yeah, just it's stuff like that where I'm like, right, okay, well, I'm not meant to have nice things.
Cheers, love, for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something else that has come up this week, or like over the last few weeks as well, but something I'm kind of excited for is we are finally getting HBO Max in Ireland at the end of this month.
Yes, I saw that actually
I think
advertised
that's
yesterday on my
really,
phone.
I think that's really, really cool. And what I love, I have to say, right, I'm not paid to say this at all, but I fucking love Sky, right, because I love the football. But they're also with that I'm gonna get HBO Max for free with my subscription, and then I'm also gonna get Disney Plus incorporated. So one less bill is gonna
Nice,
start coming out a month, but I'm gonna get two services, and it's gonna be
nice.
included in my Sky bill. I already get Netflix for free with Sky as well. I'm sure I pay like 15 quid a month. It's not a separate thing on my bill, but I'm sure like it's worked into the price of my bill. But yeah, I just think it's really cool that we're gonna get HBO Max over here, like because I hear so many things, and like we don't not have like we still have like me and you've talked recently in the last few weeks about like The Wire and The Sopranos and Euphoria. Like I've watched Euphoria and The Wire recently, so like we did
Yeah,
have access to some of those shows here, but it was all like kind of behind the Sky Atlantic wall. It was all like real kind of pay per view, sort of thing. Whereas HBO Max, like everything I've heard of it in the States has been like class, you know.
it's great to see that Sean is a protector of his watchings. He's able to find breaking walls and finding new things like HBO Max and Disney.
Mm.
So I'm excited for him to enjoy his time with the new shows. I'm always like that when I join like a new platform. You go into like a deep dive and trying to find all the cult classics you want to watch.
Mm.
My biggest thing with Netflix is they just tried to seem to, after a while they just kind of re-upload things that they already had taken down. I think they've done that like 3 or 4 times. But now, like Sean was saying, now with they've bought the rights and stuff on HBO coming to Ireland, it'll be interesting to see all the different shows that you probably don't have that much access to.
Yeah,
Another
I
one
think
as well.
it's gonna be great for the film library, especially. I think more that's
Yeah.
where I'm excited, like because you've got the likes of Sinners and Superman from last year that like you have to buy pay per view over here. It's not on
Hmm.
any streaming services, but that like those type of things will be available now, which I'm excited for. Sorry,
Yeah, for all the movie gurus, it's a great time. Yeah, and it's interesting to see like with platforms now, like a lot of the Americanized advertisements are coming like in more into like Western media. Like obviously, like you said, they're like HBO Max. I know there's a lot of other film production companies that have been trying to like more come into sort of Europe as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they've been implemented over time. Paramount was bought by Netflix as well, if I'm correct. And would be that will be coming into play soon, I think. Am I wrong or
I don't know.
one sec? I'm gonna look this
That
up.
that's
Where
ringing a bell, but I don't know if it actually went through.
let me see.
But yeah, we've and what I love about this, the only streaming service I'm actually paying for once this merger happens is going to be Amazon Prime, which I'm fine with because I pay for Amazon Prime delivery anyway, and we use that enough to justify the delivery alone. Never mind Prime Video.
Yes.
So
So
I'm
my
happy with that.
information was wrong. Sorry for coming across you. Paramount bought or put a bid in for Warner Bros. For 111 billion. The takeover was after Netflix drops a bid. So originally Netflix had put in to buy Paramount, but now, or sorry, had gone in to buy Warner Bros. But now Paramount has gone in with a higher bid to buy Warner Bros. So that's where my misconception came through. One more thing before we move on. I don't know if you've watched it, but I'm really excited for the Super Mario movie.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of like, I don't know if you've seen this, like a lot of like the Nintendo guru guys were like really, really pissed when they found out the Childish Gambino or Donald Glover was playing Yoshi. Because like he literally has like 4 words in the whole thing, and they're like
Yeah,
paying him like a mad contract.
it's like Vin Diesel with Gru in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I wonder how much actually. I want to look how much he was paid. What's your guess
Uh,
for this?
I'd say about for over the course of the whole franchise, I'd say he's made probably about 50 million. That's like Guardians, the two Avengers films.
Yeah, do you know what? You were very close. It says here that it's rumored to be cited for about 54 million.
Now there you go, lads.
Lads, if you look like a tree, you can do anything.
Before we wrap up on current affairs and stuff, we've got like just touching on like streaming services and stuff. We have got a brilliant few weeks ahead when it comes to fucking TV shows, man. Like we are spoiled. The like next 2 months of TV, I think kicking off from next week, if I'm not wrong, is incredible. We've got Invincible starting next week on Amazon Prime. You got Daredevil Born Again season 2. After that, you got Euphoria. We've got The Boys coming
Yes,
in as
sir.
well. It's and then like you said, you got the Mario film as well. There's something else I feel. This isn't something I'm a fan of, but House of the Dragon is back as well. It's like gonna be a fucking great next 2 months. And yeah,
Also
I'm
for our
so
Star Wars fans, there's a Darth Maul animation series coming out, which is also really cool. He's like my favorite character, so it's a good time. It's a good time. We are eating, and we're eating good. I was saying to Simone when I came back that there's like an anime that I'm watching right now. I mean, for all my anime fans, listen, Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'm only like halfway through, so like I have so much. Like I know as soon as I catch up with that, I already have to get locked in because I've got another exciting 3 weeks or 3 months, should I say, that I'll be talking with Shaun constantly and annoying Nick Lensmon.
yeah, we were kind of like we tried to watch Narcos there recently and just
Love
we
it.
couldn't we couldn't get into it. I didn't find it good or bad. Like I watched like a couple of episodes of the first season with Simone, and like we were both just like it's just not. We're not excited to go and watch the next episode. Like we're kind of just like, oh well, we stick that on. Sure, it's very much like we feel like we should be watching something, so we were putting it on. But yeah, we've given up on it, and we said like we're gonna rewatch Daredevil Born Again season 1 because I've only watched that once, and
And it is coming out soon, like you just said.
exactly, yeah, it's only 9 episodes, so like we can watch it very casually, kind of like in the background, just to catch up before season 2. Um, but yeah, like we're kind of like we've said, like we're not gonna watch any shows until all these other shows are done. Like we'll try and catch up on some films and stuff in between, but because we're gonna have Invincible, The Boys, Daredevil, and House of Dragon for Simone, like we're gonna be preoccupied when it comes to
Yeah,
TV shows.
and like you were saying there about the big five, which we kind of spoken about so many times. The last two I have to watch is The Wire, and I mean I have watched 3 seasons of Dexter, but I need to watch the whole thing with the spin-offs as well. So my plan is after I get over these 3 months is my summer show will be The Wire, which I'll probably finish within 2 to 3 months, and then near the later in the year I'll have probably a 7 months run of all the Dexter shows. So I'm looking forward to finishing up on the big five and then kind of enjoying the new shows that will arise because a lot of these shows like Euphoria, The Boys are coming to an end, so that kind of leaves room for new shows coming out.
And
Again,
certain
I
stuff
love like
like last year, like shows will just pop up like Adolescence, or
yeah,
season 1 of a show will just take off and be in the zeitgeist for a couple of weeks, like so it happens every year. Like there'll be 2 or 3 shows that pop up.
exactly. And for us film gurus on music and TV shows, it's we're eating good. We're eating good. It's a full roast on a Sunday.
Exactly. Right. So we're going to move on to your distance dilemma, guys. This is the part of the show where you guys send us in your dilemmas anonymously. If you would like to submit a dilemma for us to read out, this is all done totally anonymously. You can go to the link in our Instagram bio as well. You can go to the link there. It's like we said there. I just want to stress it's totally anonymous. We have no idea who sends these in. We cannot tell. We don't see any trace. And yeah, if you want us to pitch about your boss, if you want to get something off your chest about one of your friends, if something annoyed you recently, if somebody was chewing gum next to you on the bus too loud, send it in to us on your distance dilemmas, and we'll make sure to read them out and talk about them. We only have one in the pot this week, and yeah, this person says, "I want to get into reading, but I don't know where to start. Have you guys got any ideas?"
Yeah, before we kind of started, me and Sean had spoken, but he was asking, he actually asked me, because I don't think we've actually ever talked about books or like that kind of aspect of it. I was saying that I'm not the biggest reader. I try. I'd say every year I probably read about 2 to 6 books, and that's terrible. I must admit, I probably should read a bit more. But my advice, and this is only from a guy who's into film, so I'm going to give you my perspective, and Sean will probably maybe probably agree with me or go down a different route. But find a genre that you like. So I'm trying to do this in reading practices. If you like autobiographies, if you like nonfiction, if you like fiction, try figure out something that you have an interest in. If you like crime, go down that route. There's loads of crime, non-fiction, fiction books. And I think it's just really fun. Again, it is could be a thing of trial and error. Like you maybe read a book that you maybe you're not interested in that you might like to get into. But from what I found is with people that struggle to read, and like this is talking to like friends and families and stuff, the best thing they told me is to just try different types of genres, and once you find one, then stick to that. And then that helps you build into like a particular column that you like. So if it's film, it's the same premise. If you like, crime documentaries, that could be your thing, and then you can go into shows that are like non-fiction, like more like The Wire, and like then you got The Sopranos, and then you go down Breaking Bad, and you go down that route of like drama crime series. So that be my advice from a person who only reads 5 books a year, if even. And again, yeah, I think again the best place to start is just try read one. And again, what I would say is a good premise, and that I often do, is leave a book in plain sight. So either that be by your bedside, either bring it on the bus with you, or if you have a bit of time in the downtime instead of your 5 hours of doom scrolling, even read 20 pages a day is fairly good for me, in my opinion, especially for our generation where it probably wasn't pushed as hard onto the kids compared to our parents' generation where they didn't have this influence and influxation of technology. So that's my advice, and I'll let Sean speak a bit more now on it.
Yeah, I'm terrible for this. Like I've read 3 books in my life, and they've all been autobiographies, and 2 of them have been Roy Keane's autobiographies as well. So Imran's nearly up to spitting up his drink there. Yeah, I'm not great when it comes to books at all. So I'm just gonna let Imran take, like, I'm gonna say yes. What Imran says 100% trial and error. Give it, like, dip your toes into a few waters. I have a couple of friends, like Simone's big into her reading. And I have 1 or 2 friends that are really into reading as well, who like get in. Like, what I can't fathom is like people who read like a book a week, like 500 pages of some, like, or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know how people do that. Like, like, yeah, I think I've got yeah, one of my friends, I think she read 50 books last year,
damn.
which is, like, fair
She,
play. Like, like that's great. Like,
she's putting up
um,
numbers.
exactly, like, and it was like a goal of hers to like try and read a book a week, I think.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, like, I would, like, just like purely this is like me copy and pasting things from, like, from music, from film and stuff like that, but I'm sure it applies to books as well, where, you know speak to your friends who are into reading, speak to your friends who, like, do this, and say, like, right, how did you get into it, what was your starting point? And you don't have to read the same books that they read, but find out, like, what was that spark for them, try and find the relevant spark to you, and then maybe, like, read a book or two that, like, ignites that spark. Or likewise, you could just read a book that they read at the start, and even if if it's not for you, you don't like it, it's more just about, getting the ball rolling more than anything else. Then you can join the conversation around the book. It's like when you watch a TV show or a film that way. It's like, once you've seen it, then you can join the conversation without having anything spoiled for you, and then
yeah.
you can get other recommendations kind of based off what you did or didn't like about that particular story.
I think also actually I forgot to mention before, my one of my good friends from college, he was saying like he really struggles with the attention span of like sitting down and reading a book. So what he often does is he listens to like audiobooks, and now often now it's with like Spotify and Apple. There's like a lot of like popular books, some niche books that are probably harder to find. And there's a lot of people like reliterate and just reading over the books. And he says like some grasp you in and some don't. It really depends on how the reader pronunciates and tries to draw you into the story. But I think that is another thing that other people can look at. And I also know that there is like something similar to like a letterbox or like a vinyl collection that you can do. I'm gonna find the app now. It's like letterbox for books that one of my other friends uses. 1 second.
Yeah, I've heard about this as well myself. Like, again, I don't know, but it's like similar to Letterbox where you're
Ah,
keeping a diary.
it's called Goodreads, and it's very similar to like Letterboxd, where like you can keep up to date with books and you get recommendations from friends. So maybe that's for something else you could look at if you're trying to get some I don't know, experience or like some what's the word I'm looking for? Like essentially, it's like a Pinterest where you're trying to
Mm.
find out what like interests you to read books and things like this. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of
just
my advice.
another point you could probably bring up as well. I think this is where a lot of people would start with the likes of film and TV if they're trying to get into those niches. Like, just read the most popular ones. Like, read To Kill a Mockingbird, read to the
The
Shining. Like,
novels.
read. Like, I know there's film adaptations of those books as well, but like, read what is considered to be the best ones. Like, because there's a good chance you'll at least find them interesting. Like a lot of people
Or
will
you
start
learn something from it.
exactly, and like a lot of people like for TV will start with like Breaking Bad because it's the best. Um, like try and take a similar synopsis or try and take that similar kind of like way of doing it with books. That's just another way to do it. But there's no one right way. Like, it's whatever is most accessible and easiest for you as well. I've listened to audiobooks before as well. I preach audiobooks. I think they're great for anybody who there was one specific book I did really want to read, but I was having that problem of I didn't think I'd have the attention span, so I listened to the audiobook of Dave Grohl's autobiography, and I absolutely loved it. And now I have the book on my shelf over there.
Yeah, so I think it is definitely, especially for something in the car or if you're on a walk or you're in the gym, it can be
Not while
something that,
driving, by the way.
yeah, well,
Don't
not,
don't read the
well, if
book
you're
while
on a
driving.
long drive, we can listen to it in the background. Don't
Listen to it,
read
yeah.
while you're driving,
Don't
yeah.
yeah, don't read the book while driving, please. Pro tip.
No, no, unless you go 4 hours. Yeah, so that's our advice from two guys that don't read that much.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry if that's bad advice as well. It's just
Yeah,
like, but yeah, like we were saying there, guys. If you would like to send us in your distance dilemmas, and your dilemmas of any form, like I said, if you want to bitch about somebody, if you want to get something off your chest, if you would like some advice on two people that don't know what they're talking about, please go into the link in our Instagram bio and fill in the form there. Like I said, it's totally anonymous, and yeah, we'll read it out on the next episode of the Distance Dilemma. That is probably all we have time for today. So let's wrap this up. Thank you guys very much for listening to episode number 56 of The Distance Dilemma. My name is Shaun and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This has been Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. And thank you very much. We'll be back next Monday at 6 a.m. Irish time, 7 a.m. Central European time. Until then, guys, thank you very much and we'll chat to you next time.